This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's pod. It's the weekly review of July 3rd, 2021, even though we're recording this a day after the 4th of July, so happy belated birthday, America.
Absolutely.
I think everybody had busy weekends, so I was not attempting to actually record a show after barbecuing and kicking back all day yesterday on Sunday. So a lot has happened in the last week. So fireworks are back. We're going to talk about that. Lots of emotion behind that. People forget Disney's a business, and the more money you pay, the more things you get. And that strikes everybody with a surprise. I don't know why, but it is. And then, things are slowly getting back to normal. And Phil, before we hit the news, let's take a look at this week's DCI update. Quite a jump, almost 8-ish points, I think, from last week. We're currently sitting at 64.02, and a big portion of what made this come back is a lot of the fireworks actually had a major impact. And there's a couple restaurants opened up, that type of thing. I don't think. See, Matt hasn't updated the actual watch. Actually, 7.4. Yeah, Chippendale Campfire returns, Dino Diner. A bunch of little things that Matt's been digging around that's got a little bit of points here and there. So that's pretty good. So for those that are just dying for everything to be back to normal, we're now on the we're near the peak. I don't know what the peak's going to be when everything's. I don't think we hit 100% when everything's quote unquote back to normal. Yeah. So we'll see. But with that being said, Phil, let's hit up the news because there's a lot of interesting topics I think we have to go over.
I think so, yeah. So hopefully some that get some good conversation and not just me reading off news items. No. But the first item is, and we talked about this before, obviously it's been known for a little bit that Disney is going to start having early morning entry for all the parks at Walt Disney World, which was going to give all resort guests the opportunity to get into every park every day 30 minutes early. So rather than just like one park for an hour, it's going to be all the parks, which I think is an interesting change because I think it certainly makes it more of a negative impact for people staying off property. But the bigger news that came out this week and the news item about that was relevant that came out is that is going to start October 1st.
Right.
So we knew it was going to start, sometime this year, they said, but just like apparently everything else, it is going to start October 1st. The other news item that came out is that, and we mentioned this, I think it was just last week's show, but they're having extra evening hours.
Yes.
And that is only going to be on select days at select parts. So kind of sounds similar to extra magic hours of the past. The unique thing, though, is this is only going to be for guests that stay at Disney Deluxe resorts and DVC villas. So if you're staying at a moderate or a value, you get to, wave at the people that are staying at Deluxe resorts and say, enjoy your extra time. I'm not able to stay any longer.
The plebs.
Yeah, the peasants that can only afford like a $300 part.
This kind of like I went back and forth with WWNT news on Twitter about this, and I'm like, oh, Walt would be. I mean, what was the phrase he used? Everybody always says Walt would be turning over in his grave, but he would really be turning over in his grave for this one. And I'm like, well, Walt did charge you per ride back in 1955. I mean,
so if you could afford more tickets, you could ride more things.
This is not new. I mean, Disney has always been pay to win. And then like different boards like our Discord channel or Disboards or WDW Magic, Twitter, wherever, Reddit, wherever you get your Walt Disney kind of interaction. They're always complaining about, oh, this is the last straw. I'm never going back. Disney's becoming the haves and the have-nots. Yeah. And, they're on and on and on. But Phil, do we not remember club level? You got an option for $50 for 3 extra fast passes.
Sure. And then
that's
if
a
you
thing.
can pay for VIP tours, you got special things, and Club 33 gets special things, which, by the way, Walt started. I mean, Walt had Club 33.
Right. I mean, deluxe resorts right now all have better amenities, most likely better pools, unless you are Old Key West, and I'm sorry. You have better restaurants. I mean, I think every deluxe has at least one sit-down restaurant. Most moderates don't. I think there's only a handful of moderates that have. I know Riverside has it as a sit-down. I mean, it's the worst sit-down restaurant, but it is a sit-down restaurant. And I prefer the extra morning hours anyway. I mean, if I'm staying on property, right? Yes, we can debate whether that's bad for off-site guests and stuff like that, but it spreads the crowds around. It's every single park, every single day. This deluxe thing is, I guess, I don't know. Who knows how many parks and how many days and all this other stuff, right? So we don't know that yet. But I don't care if deluxe resorts get another perk. I mean, you're paying like a mortgage payment or a car payment per night just to stay there.
Yeah.
Pretty big one, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Especially the way things are going for prices for the deluxes. I definitely think they should get something. I'm a little torn. I mean, as somebody who rarely stays at deluxe, I'm not, likely not to take advantage of this benefit. And I do think if it was more like, okay, we're shutting down the park at like 6, so the deluxe people can stay, I'd have a bigger problem. But if this is truly that the parks were going to close that time to most everyone anyway, and this is like extra hours, I really have trouble being too bent out of shape about it. And
no, I mean, deluxe people should get more for the money that they're spending. So I'm totally okay with that. And let's not forget the free dining plans that Disney hands out, the quote unquote free dining plans. If you stayed at the deluxe, you started at the Disney medium tier Disney dining plan, and anywhere else you still have to pay money to upgrade it.
Correct.
So it was never even quote unquote free. So these perks have been around forever, and I'm not angry about that.
The next news item, which everyone benefits from, not just deluxe guests, at Mickey's Philharmagic, they're going to be adding a new scene, and I think this is pretty cool. They're not taking anything away; they're just adding a new scene, and it's going to be for Coco. So they had a couple images about Donald, and his adventures in Mickey's Philharmagic, going through all the different things, whether it's riding on the carpet with Aladdin and Jasmine or whatever. But now he's going to be in the scene from Coco, and I think that's pretty neat. It sounds like it's coming this summer to most of the other parks. Walt Disney World is not going to get it until into the 50th celebration, because again, Walt Disney World will not get anything until after October 1st. But I think it's neat that they're adding something. It's kind of interesting. I don't think people were expecting Coco to go in there. Everyone was kind of waiting, I think, for Coco to go into the Mexico Pavilion, but instead, at least for now, it will be added to Mickey's Philharmagic. Now,
I'm just saying it's a good spot for it, because this place never had a wait time. You could always walk in as long as the show was just starting. And if this is a bigger people eater, that's great.
Yeah, I was just sorry for stepping on you. I was going to add that what I'd really like to see Mickey's Philharmagic do is actually add a couple new scenes,
That'd be nice.
Create a couple new scenes and then randomize it, kind of like you have with Star Tours, where you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So this way, every time it's kind of like a slightly different experience and that sort of thing. I think that would
I could see
add
that,
the rewritability.
Yeah, I mean, that you do have a point, but sometimes people want to go to these shows because of a specific show, and it's kind of lengthy. I mean, it's not long, but I'm curious how that would work.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought they could add more scenes and not make it like 3 times as long. You could keep the length the same, but have some of these things. But we'll see. Next story is that Disney announced a number of reopening dates for quite a few restaurants. One already happened, that Casey's Corner opened on June 30th. There was actually a preview the night before when the cast members of Magic Kingdom got a preview of Happily Ever After. They also got a preview night for having Casey's Corner open for them, but it opened to everybody on June 30th, which I know quite a lot of people are quite happy to see.
I don't get it. Like, if you want to make a list of overrated things at Walt Disney World, I think Casey's on there. But it's just, I know it's just not the food, right? It's the location, it's the inside, it's a lot of nostalgia tacked onto it. So I get it.
Yeah, well, I think I'm a bad Disney fan because I've never been there. So I mean, I've been in it, but I've never eaten there. So
I'm trying to think. I mean, like, I don't specifically remember eating that stuff. I mean, like, by the time I'm there, I'm like, I can't eat this type of food anymore after it. So I don't know.
Citrico's at the Grand Floridian is going to open on July 15th with a slightly updated decor and menu that they said will pay homage to the whimsy and elegance of Mary Poppins Returns. So I guess it's not going to be fully themed, but there will be sort of elements that make you think about Mary Poppins Returns. I'm more excited about the menu and the wine list and stuff like that. I think the sommelier is the sommelier that used to be at why am I blanking on the name? But a top sommelier there, and also the pastry chef is they're both from Victoria and Albert. I don't know why I blanked on the term, but they're both going to be there, and the menu just looks really nice. So I think that's a nice addition to update a signature restaurant. It's nice to see another signature restaurant open. Another one opening is that Trails End restaurant over at Fort Wilderness will be opening on July 17th. This will be serving family style skillets for both breakfast and dinner. And this was the item that sort of got most of Disney Twitter into an uproar in that it was baked chicken instead of fried chicken. So like we had to get, just like we had Noodlegate, now we have Fried Chicken Gate, I guess. Everybody's hoping for that because I guess they do share the kitchen that was used for Hoop-de-Doo, and the fried chicken there was always a big part of doing Hoop-de-Doo. So people are worried that it won't be there, but we'll see. I know P&J's, which is like the quick service over there, is doing fried chicken, so clearly they can still do it if they want. So I don't know. Something else people get upset about, but we'll see if it's a big deal or not. The Plaza Ice Cream Parlor is opening on July 7th, and the Dino Diner is, I guess, opened on July 4th. So lots of new stuff coming, and it's good. I mean, like you just went over the DCI, the Disney Comeback Index. This is just more part of this, right? More restaurants opening up, which is something that Disney World absolutely needed. Speaking of food, Disney announced a new meal option, which I'm interested to hear your take on this, Jason, that they are going to have family night dinners.
I have questions.
Which are to-go meals available both at the quick service at Caribbean Beach and also at Gasparilla Island Grill at the Grand Floridian. The one at the Grand Floridian is like Italian food. I'm not sure why that's at the Grand Floridian, with like lasagna and pizza and stuff, and everything's Mickey shaped. On the screen. And the Caribbean Beach one is actually more Caribbean food. So I think it has the jerk chicken and the pull-apart rolls and things like that. So that's sort of more fit, I think, the location. But they say they serve 3 to 4 people. The reviews we've read, I say it could probably feed 6 people, no problem. They're around $79 or $89 a person. So I don't know. What do you think about the idea of going to like Walt Disney World and going and getting a meal to go?
Getting a meal to go is fine. I mean, like, I wouldn't mind grabbing a meal and go sitting by the poolside and let the kids kind of play and eat. I mean, I did that today. We brought like leftover barbecue from yesterday, and our pool allows you to have adult beverages if you want. So like, I don't mind doing that at all. To go, that's fine because there's a lot of cool places in the resort as long as you're not doing it in your room, right? I mean, to me, that's kind of a waste. Like, if you're at the resort and it's early enough for dinner, go outside and do a little impromptu picnic. I mean, there's plenty of places where you can have it. I just question what's in these things. That's my question. I mean, we only have pictures, I think, of. I keep scrolling down. They're showing the lasagna.
Yeah,
the Blog Mickey.
I think the Blog Mickey. They did the Gasparilla Island one. I haven't seen a review of Caribbean Beach one, so I haven't.
They do an odd way of they're weighing all these things. And, let's start off with one. Yeah. Let's start off with the pizza. All right. So I'm showing a picture on screen right now of the Mickey's pizza. You've got Mickey ears that are, I guess, plain parts of the pepperoni. And then you have like small, granted, it's Disney World pizza, so I don't even think it's real pizza. But like, how do you eat this thing? Like, do you cut off the ear and that's your plain slice? But that takes off all the crust of the pepperoni section of it, like the inner, bigger Mickey face, I guess. Yeah. How do you eat that? It looks absolutely.
It's just
form and function
shaped.
And then the lasagna looks kind of weird. It's like burnt cheese in a Mickey, right? The only thing is that what was this priced at? $89.
Yeah,
which is not too bad for Disney. I mean, it looks like it's a lot of food. I don't know.
Yeah, quantity wise, I think you're covered. But we'll see. I just think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know if it's also again tied to the fact that they seem to be short on staff at a lot of the restaurants. So they're trying to come up with other ways.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
other
That's a good
ways
point.
to feed people. I know other people have commented. They're like, you'd be surprised how many times I come back to the park and you see people getting the to-go pizzas and stuff like that. So
You see that
just
a lot,
another option
yes.
for people to do. I think especially people maybe staying at DVC, who are planning on cooking or something, say,
Yeah.
let's not cook tonight. Let's do this. So it's nice. It's another option. It just seemed to come out of nowhere, which is like, okay, this is something else we're doing now. It's like, all right.
Okay, cool.
Other restaurant news. This is Disneyland out in California related, and this also surprised people. First, it came out that Steakhouse 55, which was a pretty popular, or at least well-regarded restaurant at the Disneyland Hotel, and also the PCH Grill, which was at Paradise Pier, they're both closing permanently with no information as far as reopening, changing thing or anything. Just as they're closing. So that caught people off guard because it's saying like these are, now I don't think there's a full service restaurant at the Disneyland Hotel. I mean, for what they're charging to not have a full service restaurant.
Strange. Yep.
So I mean, I'm assuming at some point they're going to reopen as something else or whatever.
Yep.
But there was no mention of like we're closing this for now, blah blah blah. It's also really interesting that and news broke that I think we talked about it last time. The Wave was going to be redone at the Contemporary Resort, and it's going to be Steakhouse 71, which 71 is when Walt Disney World founded instead of 55. So it's like, okay, we're opening this because we're taking that idea because we think it's such a great idea, except the other one we're closing. It's just timing seems a little weird. We did eat breakfast at Steakhouse 55. It was great. So I'm sad to see it go. Just another one of those announcements that I don't think anybody saw, and not quite sure what's up with it.
No comment.
And then the last two items I have are more rumors, maybe some Armchair Imagineering type idea. But the first one is that Blog Mickey had the story as well, that they noticed there was a little bit of construction in one area in between the Contemporary Resort and the TTC. And what they're saying is that this is rumors that there's the concept for a new monorail resort has been rekindled, and now they're looking into building a new hotel on the monorail line. I don't know why they think like a couple pieces of wood signify a new hotel is going in.
Obviously,
yeah, but I thought it was an interesting thing because obviously there's always originally there was plans for there to be a Venetian themed hotel there back when Walt Disney World was first being created, and it never got built. So I think it gets the Armchair Imagineering brain going a little bit to say, well, what are they doing? What could they do? What theme would we want? All that sort of stuff.
Let me scroll this for our viewers, and let me take the moment as we cue this up. If you're listening to this, you should definitely go on YouTube and watch us cover the news. And all these things that we're talking about, these visuals, we actually can kind of see them. So we're looking at that part of the Blog Mickey post because Phil can't see what actually I'm producing right now. But it's basically if you draw a straight line from the Poly to the Contemporary, there's like a bit of land that's unused, right? And it's to the left of the monorail, I believe, right? It kind of sticks out into the lagoon.
Yep.
And you guys can see it right there. You can see Wilderness Lodge also kind of to the right. And, he's a little bit close up there. There's the space. It looks like they could put something there with some parking lots. I don't know. Do you think, I after the killed Reflections
at Disney Rehab Facility.
I don't think they're itching to start building a new hotel unless they think that they're going to need more hotels like 2 to 3, 4 years down the road.
Yeah.
Because there's also those rumors popping up about the Epcot hotel popping up again.
Right.
Those kind of resurfaced. I don't know. Would you like to see another hotel here?
I mean, I always love the monorail resorts. I mean, I think it's great to have more. And if this is another one that the monorail goes through and it has a cool theme, I mean, they seem to be, for lack of a better word, reinvesting in the monorail hotels. They're redoing the Contemporary now and the Polynesian, adding the Moana theme there. There's reports that they're going to be redoing the Grand Floridian. So it seems like they're putting more emphasis and focus on there. Obviously, the fact they can charge like $900,000 a night probably helps them wanting to put focus there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting and it's exciting. I don't think it'll actually happen, and not anytime soon. Like you said, they already have the land cleared for Reflections. Why would they not go back to that versus something brand new? But
yeah, I don't think they would build or start ground on anything until Reflections gets redone. Whether it's the same hotel or they redesign it or whatever, they probably just pick up again. But until you see construction equipment over there, this is not happening at all.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's just an add-on for something like, I know at some point there was always talk, but I thought it was just supposed to go next to it and a second BLT tower, Bay Lake Tower. So maybe they'll add on the contemporary that way or something like that to get more DVC rooms that way. I don't know. But, I think just the fact that it was always part of, those original plans. I think the original hotels that were supposed to be built are always interesting to me. So the fact
it's
that they're looking
super
at
prime real estate.
Oh,
I'm surprised they haven't done it already.
Yeah, I mean, there were reports that the site was too unstable; they couldn't build there. But then there's other reports saying no, they could do it and stuff. So
modern technology.
I mean, I'm sure if they could charge $1,000 a night, they'll figure out a way to build it.
Yeah.
And then the second rumor, which just popped up today, it was a Twitter account, Professor Nakusi, who even he says his source is mildly credible. So we'll see if it's how much it is, but I thought it was a fun idea. Was obviously there's been a lot of photos going around about Typhoon Lagoon and how they're working on it, and people are saying it's in disrepair. I think it's just that's how a water park that's being surfaced looks like. But what the source was saying is that they are going to do major renovations to Typhoon Lagoon, expand it, plus it, with the goal of competing against Volcano Bay. So kind of trying to be like the premier water park in the area. But that would then be the only water park at Walt Disney World, that they would close down Blizzard Beach, that they would basically just have one super water park. I'm assuming maybe they'd want to do the same thing that Universal does, where it's like the same price, or your ticket, for a theme park is also good at the water park. You don't need like a separate ticket. So I don't know. Thought that was interesting. It also led to some fun discussion on our Discord server about, well, what would you do with Blizzard Beach? It seems weird to just close it, or that sort of thing. People are saying, maybe close and build the fifth gate or something like that. I threw out the idea, well, what if they built more hotels around it, and then that becomes the pool for the hotel? Kind of like a souped up version of Stormalong Bay, how that's kind of like a fancy pool with water slides and stuff like that for those two, highly sought after resorts. Put some nice resorts, DVC and stuff there, and you kind of get a water park as your pool that if you're staying at those hotels you get to use.
I mean, if they want to theme it out, just kind of spitballing here. I mean, that might be the location of the next reality themed hotel. If the Star Wars experience, immersion, whatever, not hotel kind of thing you want to call it, that's become super popular. They're going to want to start building, because that went up really quick, right? Mm-hmm. So if they know operationally how good it is, if they could do it well, they're going to want to replicate it, especially if they're going to get people spending $8,000 for a weekend or whatever, $5,000, whatever that costs to do it. I don't know. You make your Frozen themed whatever.
Exactly. With all this, it's already got all the snow there. Make it Frozen themed, princess experienced, and have those who want Star Wars go to Star Wars. Those who want princesses go to the.
Would you spend
Frozen.
A weekend at a hotel that had a water park like that in it? That major type of, I mean, there's plenty of resorts out there that have a slide or two, that type of thing, but something that's a major.
Yeah, I mean, there's what are those Wolf Lake Lodge or whatever those are that have kind of indoor water parks attached to them and stuff. So they're pretty popular. I don't know. I'm kind of one of those people, when I go to Disney, I'm there to go to the Disney park. So I don't think I would go to Disney to go to a water park at my hotel and that sort of thing. But certainly be a nice perk. And I could definitely see if it was a DVC type thing, being look, I have all these points to use up. Let's go spend some time at the water park and stuff like that. So I don't know. I was just trying to think of something rather than just bulldozing it. Let's leverage what's there and make some extra money versus spending more money. But
is there enough room around it to build some hotels?
I did look at Google Maps a bit, and there's Blizzard Beach, and above it, a little bit further up, is Coronado. To the right, you have a gap, but then there's Hollywood Studios. To the left, you have a gap, and then there's the parking lot in Animal Kingdom. There's definitely 2 plots, maybe the size of Coronado, that you could fit in there. So I think there's roads there a little bit, so you might have to figure out how to get there. Maybe use a gondola or something to get people from one to the other.
Yep.
There's definitely land there, not an inordinate amount, but you could fit in, I think, two decent sized hotels.
Huh. Well, there you go. Something to think about, I guess, right? And if it happened, you heard it here first on the DBC.
Absolutely,
we have insight and connections, obviously.
Obviously.
And
that is it for the news. Reminder of our social media accounts: Twitter @PodDBC, Instagram, the DBC Podcast, Facebook, DBC Pod, and of course our YouTube channel and the Discord server.
Yes, and Phil, if you can hop on our YouTube channel, how many subscribers are we up to? I meant to look right before we hit record, and I don't have enough monitors to do it. So, but it is upticking. So I want to say thank you to all of our listeners that have migrated over to YouTube, at least to hit a couple buttons and subscribe and like. We appreciate that. If we get up to 100 subscribers, that's going to be our first goal. We might be close to halfway there, Phil, I think.
Yes, we're definitely over 50. I'm trying to bring up the...
Oh, right. So it went up since I last looked at it yesterday. Yep. If we hit it up to 100, we can get a customized URL. So instead of youtube.com/gibberish, it's, DVC pod or whatever we're allowed to make out of it. So that's our first goal. So we appreciate all of you guys for supporting it. Also, check down at the bottom of the page. We have friends of the channel. Dream to Stream, friend of the show, Julie, has got her channel there. You should definitely check out and like and subscribe her channels, because I think if she hits 1,000, she can start her monetization journey and all this other stuff. So please support her. And then also friend of the show, the Crescent Lake Club, with their content director, Ryan Teets, who is just coming back from his own 5-day trip, while we make fun of him walking around Animal Kingdom in the rain. Follow him on Twitter for that journey. That being said,
and maybe I'll just mention while you go through all this stuff, thanks to everyone who's been listening. We had a lot of downloads. I think we had twice as many downloads in June than we've had in any other month. So very much appreciate everyone checking us out, enjoying the content, sharing the content, all the news listeners. Those are enjoying our regular show as well as our Loki reviews and stuff like that. So please continue to tell your friends, and hopefully you continue to enjoy. And either way, please send us messages so we can improve the content.
Yes, our listenership is definitely growing, which we appreciate to everybody out there. And please keep listening. And if you have any suggestions, hit us up on Discord or social media, Twitter, and we'll take questions or any feedback to try to make it better for your listening pleasure. YouTube was basically one giant project from everybody's like, we don't listen to podcasts. We usually listen to podcasts like in the car, that type of thing, but they definitely watch YouTube in the evening. So that's the impetus for that. Okay, so Attractionality for this week was an interesting one.
Yeah.
It was Aladdin's Magic Carpets in Adventureland in Magic Kingdom. This is described by Disney as a new fantastic point of view. Climb aboard this colorful 4-passenger flying rug to take off in the air to soothing sounds of Middle Eastern music, soar around the giant genie bottle, magic lamp, and enjoy a new view of the colorful bazaar below. This was opened up May 24th in 2001, so it just hit its 20th birthday.
Yep.
And it's located in the Agrabah Bazaar in Adventureland. Now, I want to pop up on the screen, Phil, a picture courtesy of yesterland.com. It's in the show notes, I believe, Phil, so you can take a look at it as well. Before this was built, I think Adventureland looked better. It was a nice wide open courtyard type of thing, and a nice tree growing in the middle. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. But we won't. Maybe we'll talk about this as our future topic. A couple little fun tidbits when you're waiting in line for the magic carpet. Take a look down. You'll see some gems embedded in the pavement. Disney loves doing those little things. You will notice the golden camels, the one that spits on you. I think everybody knows about the spitting camel as you're walking through Adventureland. However, what I didn't know, I found this out today. I was just kind of taking a look. The camels originally were built to be part of the Aladdin parade in the Disney MGM Studios park, but they were now moved to the entrance of this attraction, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep.
So to get to Attractionality, so this was probably by far the lowest rated attraction out of all of them. We're going to put the scores on the screen, not to spoil anything. So we'll go with you, Phil, on this. How much do you like the concept of this attraction? What did you score this as?
So I actually gave this ratings probably higher than most people. I gave it a 4 overall.
Whoa. Okay.
Yes. I think the idea of a magic carpet ride is great. You get to fly, you get to go up and down. I love the camels. I love the spiel from Aladdin talking about everything. So I like spinner rides. I think they're fun. So my kids love it. We always enjoy ourselves when we go on it. So overall, I gave it a 4 for this.
Okay. I mean, I could see that point of view, and I want to apologize to everybody. Apparently, my camera is like focusing and unfocusing my face for like the last 20 minutes, so I don't know why it's doing that. So I'm going to try to sit very still, which is not going to be possible. I have to click a lot of buttons. And I have to say, that's an excellent T-shirt you're wearing, Phil.
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, in honor of our Epcot Project Gemini, I wore a Epcot shirt.
Finishing up tonight. Yeah. Yep, for sure. I rated this a 2. The concept, I mean, it's a spinner ride. I don't think I could rate a spinner ride I mean, I like it's Aladdin. It's got the carpets. It's fun for what it is, but I was with almost everybody else rating this a 2. I think the average score was a 2.82 on this one, so right below.
Yeah, most people gave it a 2 or a 3. Yeah.
Question number 2, Phil. How well do you think it delivers for its target audience?
So this one again, I'm probably biased for how much my kids enjoy it and the smiles on their faces, but I'm thinking of them as the target audience. So I gave it a 5. I think for what it is, for the idea of getting to fly and be in the magic carpet and stuff like that. Like I said, I think it's probably more for the younger kids and that sort of thing. But I think for assuming that's its target audience, I think it delivered well.
This one got
and maybe I just want to be contrary. I don't know.
I was the low number 1 on this one. Because I think of it a different way. Yes, if we're just truly just going based on do my kids enjoy riding it? Yes, they do, because they like going up and down and spinning around in circles. Yes. So, I mean, if that was the case, yes, we give it a 5. But they're never excited to go back on it again, right? If we could go on it, it's fun. But they're not they want to go to the tiki room. They want to get Dole Whips. They want to go on the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
They want to climb the Swiss Family Treehouse and all this other stuff. So, for me to even break a 3... it has to be somewhere on your first 3 tiers of rides that you're looking forward to go on when you go back to Disney World. I mean, my kids have fun twirling around in circles in front of the castle while we wait for fireworks. I mean, so I don't measure it that much. I think they could have done so much more with anything with Aladdin, dark ride or otherwise, that I kind of ranked it low. But this one got a 3.52. So a lot of people thought, it delivers. Question number 3, how much do you personally enjoy Magic Carpets of Aladdin? Bill?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm probably going to be repeating myself. This one I gave it a 4, though, but I think it's because I do enjoy going on it. I think it's fun. Okay. I do definitely get your point of it's not like if I'm drawing up my Excel spreadsheets for my plan, I probably don't have like Magic Carpets of Aladdin. Sure. Like that's got to be there. We're rope dropping it or anything like that. But I just have fun on it. So I think you get credit for that. But like I said, I might
take that away from you.
Maybe when I just saw all the negative comments, I was like, you know what? I enjoy it. I'm giving it higher scores than you all.
I mean, I gave this a 1 as well. Second most popular answer, 3 being the most. Final score was a 2.67. I mean, do I personally enjoy it? No, because I kind of want to. I'm usually, when we go on this, I'm trying to go to one of the other attractions at Adventureland, or I'm coming from Pirates and I want to make it over to Tomorrowland for a fast pass. Yeah. And ultimately, my kids are like, let's go on Magic Carpets. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then we go, right? So, I don't enjoy it because I'm itching to go somewhere else usually when we're doing it. Or my kids want to go on it, so my mom takes the kids on it, or my wife takes the kids on it, and I'm usually either sitting with the stroller or getting Dole Whips nearby or doing something, and I don't get to enjoy it anyway, so it does make a difference. Last question is, how well do you think the Magic Carpets fits into Adventureland and the Magic Kingdom? I'll go first on this one just to round it out. I gave it a 1 also. This had an overall fit score of 2.52. I don't think it, I mean, yes, you built a little Agrabah bazaar around it. Of course, Aladdin fits there now because you kind of force fed it into the whole area. I don't think it really, I guess you could call it that you could make it fit into Adventureland overall because, I mean, you're going into a whole new world. It's an adventure. Yes. I get it. I think it fits very well into Magic Kingdom. Just I don't think it belongs there just from a physical point.
Yeah. So I actually only gave it a 2. I think I gave it the 2 because it fits well in Magic Kingdom and for Aladdin and that sort of thing.
You can get me a 2 too.
Yeah, I mean, and you could probably talk me into a 1 because I don't think the fit as well. But I definitely dinged it because I feel like most of Adventureland is more sort of the jungly kind of South America, Africa type Caribbean, and then they sort of have Agrabah shoved in there, so that's not great. And then the biggest thing is just how much it congests the area. That when people's personal enjoyment of the area may increase by just having nothing there, that's probably not a good fit for physically fitting into the area. So that's why I dinged it as much as I did. Like I said, I probably could have gone down to a 1. I give it a 2 because I think it fits into Magic Kingdom, but otherwise it is not a great fit.
All right, so that leads us to our follow-up question for Attractionality. What do you think should go here instead? Should anything go here instead?
I think nothing. I think if they were going to do anything, I would get rid of it and build out sort of like they have the Tropical Hideaway at Disneyland. That kind of is an outdoor area to where you can get Dole Whips and stuff like that.
Yep.
Maybe now that they have some places that let you have adult beverages, maybe have like a tiki, kind of like a mini tiki bar in there or something like that, where you can kind of just rest and relax and maybe have some animatronic,
The outside of Hall of Presidents and Haunted Mansion, where you have that whole eatery area there. I mean, if you replicate that, but
something like that, but like tiki themed or something, I think that would be great. So I think that would be, and that's probably the fact that I say I'd rather have that than what's there now probably negates my high scores for the ride.
Yes,
but I think that all is a testament to how poorly the fit is, not the ride is.
True. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about those on Discord. I've been out of Discord all weekend. I've been busy with family and stuff. So those rumors like hit me hard. So we were talking about this though, probably like a Thursday or Friday, that I would love to be able to take out the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse and kind of put maybe the loading area in this spot and put something. But there's really not enough room to do a lot of that stuff. Yeah. But I Adventureland's my favorite land, so I would love to see it fleshed out a little bit more and pushed back. So the more you can add to the tiki and the jungle and all this other stuff, I'm all for. It'll probably take people much smarter than I am to figure out how to actually do all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Now, do you think? Here's the follow-up to the follow-up. Because a lot of people like to raise holy heck on whenever they change attraction, let alone remove it. Do you think how much pushback do you think they'd get if they remove the treehouse?
The treehouse,
completely removed it. It's all gone.
I think they get some pushback. I would push back a bit just because it was an original attraction. I think for me, part of it would be, well, what are the plans? If it was worth losing it, I think I'd be okay with it. It's not like, again, it's not something I'm rope dropping, but it is something we do quite often. We think it's a good opportunity to let the kids burn some energy and stuff like that. So versus like the magic carpets, where I think nothing would be better than it being there. I think the treehouse is good. I think it adds to the area, but if it was for a good reason, I'd be okay with it. But I think there are a lot of traditionalists that would be like, what are you doing? Especially after Disneyland did a makeover of theirs. So this is the last sort of Swiss Family themed attraction in the States. So I would be, if somebody asked me my opinion, I would say no, don't. But I also probably wouldn't chain myself to the tree.
I mean, I'm all for change as long as it's a good change. So if they put something in there that's completely awesome, I'm okay. We had like another IP fight sometime on Discord late last week about what is IP, what isn't, and shoving it in, and people wanting original rides. I mean, I think making Tarzan would be kind of cool to put it on this too. So I wouldn't mind taking the Disneyland approach to that. Okay, so we're going to wrap up Attraction. We're going to go to our topics because we still got to do our DBC expedition. I don't want to rush things like we did last week. So the first topic here, I'm going to go a more topical topic rather than a generic topic that we've been saving. So I'm going to go to our topic number 2 to start off is how did the fireworks, Phil, affect you? And I know you're the one who was watching the Epcot fireworks.
I know.
Not happily ever after.
I was the one person crying to Epcot forever. While
I'm only talking about normal fireworks, or any fireworks in general, I should say. What was your mindset seeing them? Was this like a milestone for you? What was going through your head?
I think it was. It probably hit me a little harder than I thought it would, because obviously not having been there since the closures, I can't really say, well, what does it feel like being at a park when there aren't any fireworks? But the fact that they're back and it caps the night, and it is such that kind of quintessential part of a Disney trip or a day at Disney is seeing the fireworks at the end of it. It was sort of, and it probably makes sense that that's why it had such a big impact on the Disney Comeback Index, that it did kind of signify like another milestone in the return. And, seeing how many people were impacted by it, how many people say like, yep, standing here crying, like, yep. It meant a lot. So I think it was kind of one of those things where you don't know how much it meant until it was gone and then it came back type thing. I think. So, I'd be lying if I was like, oh, I watched it 100 times and oh my God, it's, I know our good friend Matt Pato is trying to figure out how to get another trip down there to watch Happily Ever After before they go away, and trying to talk us into it. But so I'm
Matt,
not
buddy, I would love it. I'm going on vacation like a week before that, and then a giant family trip like 2 months after that. To Disney World. I can't swing it. I'm sorry.
But I think it just was that another kind of big step forward in Disney being back to normal.
Yeah.
And although I didn't, I keep saying when I see all the crowds for it, I'm like, can't we find that happy medium between like full pre-pandemic crowds and then the post-pandemic crowds? But it was nice to see them back.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. So we had it, and I put on Happily Ever After right after it stopped. I was trying to find a stream that wasn't kind of herky-jerky, and I couldn't really find a good one. But we watched a little bit, and even my wife kind of stopped reading her book and kind of looked up. And I mean, my wife's not a Disney curmudgeon by any means, but she's seen the show I don't know how many times, and I always kind of put it on every once in a while. And she stopped to like kind of watch it and kind of appreciate it. And it still gives me the chills, even the grainy herky-jerky, whoever was live streaming it at the time. I think I had all ears feed, and then I tried the Diz's feed also. They were both kind of the same, on the same.
I think just the live streaming in Magic Kingdom's not.
It's tough.
The Wi-Fi's not great.
It hit me, and I'm like, I had two thoughts in my mind. I'm like, oh wow, Disney's back. This feels good after a year of like all this nonsense and in whatever you want to call it. It felt good, and then it was also like, I'm not sure if I want Disney to be all the way back by the time you go down there with all the crowds, right? So that kind of has those two thoughts go through my mind. But did it affect me? It made me smile. But then again, you put Happily Ever After. Let's say COVID never happened, and you put it on a random Friday night. It still affects me in the same way because it just brings back memories. Yeah. The one thing that I did learn, and I think I might have mentioned this last week, I don't remember, is I could sworn that Happily Ever After went on longer than it has. Like it came in 2017, and I saw Happily Ever After for the first time about 3 months after it kicked off, but I saw Wishes in 15, but I could have sworn it was Happily Ever After that I saw. That's how good the show was. It just felt like it belongs, right? And we were having a conversation with my dad yesterday about talking about Disney and the trip that's coming up, and I'm like, "You're not going to get to see Happily Ever After because," and he's like, I don't care. I've never seen it before. But then we started talking about like the awesome replacement, and that kind of got me thinking that. Hopefully they learn their lessons with Happily Ever After and they take what was amazing from that and they just plus it to heck, and it's just awesome. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and everything we're hearing is they're really going all in on the projections down Main Street. So I think they learned from like we can't have everyone have to be in the hub to get the full experience. So I think like you said, hopefully it's Happily Ever After is amazing. If they can take everything that's great about it and then improve on that, then I think we're in for an even better show. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course. And then Harmonious is, even the showing the fireworks. And I think, didn't they? I could have sworn I saw somebody on Twitter, they had the fountains going off at night or something.
They did, yeah. So they had either before or after they had the fountains go. They weren't using the screens or anything like that, but they had the fountains going off. Yeah,
it looked good, Phil.
It did.
It did look good. I think people are going to be very angry about bashing the barges for like 3 years now, or however long it's been. It looked good.
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear all the people that are still trying to say like it's a bad show because they don't like the
It is going to be amazing. I think the Epcot show is going to be a must see because of the extravagance of it. Like it's just going to be big and like all over, right? It's going to be just like nuts. And then the Magic Kingdom show is going to feel more like a warm hug, right? Because it's just projections, it's happiness, it's warm and fuzzies, and when you're going to be Main Street, you're going to be looking at the fireworks, but you're going to look to the side, and it's just going to be like all around you, but close. Yeah. Whereas Epcot Harmonious is just going to be, it's like everywhere. It's going to be just gigantic.
More
so I
think
they're going to be
awe-inspiring.
Two different type of shows in two different feels, which I'm looking forward to. And I think you have another topic here, Phil. I'm going to save that for next week.
Okay. Yep.
Because it is time for the last and final part 3 of our DBC expedition of Project Gemini. Last week, Phil, we described and went over basically a tour of Epcot Discoveryland, where we described kind of clockwise on the outside and then the inside of the different things that they wanted to put on there. A lot of thrill rides, a couple coasters, lots of greenery, lots of trees. And it sounds like an amazing version of Epcot. What I wish that was there. And so where we left off was basically that all got kicked off and went to the dustbin of Imagineering, where ideas never die; they just get kept for a while. And everything that we got out of that is basically Nemo, Friends, and Soarin', I believe.
Right.
And I left off. Was that enough to resurrect Epcot? The answer is no. Attendance basically was been the same. There's been no change. The perception of it hasn't changed. So why don't you start off where you left off, Phil, in part 3 of where all of those ideas are now coming back to life.
Exactly. Hopefully, yeah. So as Jason mentioned, ultimately, Project Gemini did not come to fruition, but still, it was determined they didn't want to spend the money. It was an estimated cost of like $500 million, but they knew that Epcot still needed work. It was propped up by the festival, some changes here or there, but they were still getting negative feedback. A couple quotes we have from TripAdvisor reviews from around the late 2000s or 2007. People are calling it outdated and overrated. And somebody said, after spending a day at the park, we found that most of the rides were the same as they were in the early 90s. So there just wasn't the evolution for a park that was always designed to kind of continue to evolve, and that sort of thing was always supposed to be about the future, and nothing was really
it's now nostalgic for the past, essentially.
Yeah, the past of what we thought the future would be and never was, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So they started making announcements, right? There are always small things that happen, but nothing big. The first big kind of domino to fall was in 2017. They announced that they're going to be closing Ellen's Energy Adventure, and in its place would be putting Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which obviously everyone was excited by, maybe puzzled by. Why did the Guardians of the Galaxy go here? Why can't we get a bigger Marvel property? But obviously everyone, I think, knows the reason they can't get Iron Man and Captain America and stuff like that. But still, I think people are excited. Like, this is something big. This is going to be exciting. This is new technology going into Epcot. Great. This should be good. And
let's pause here for a second. So in 2017, Epcot being your favorite park, what was your mindset about? Okay, we don't know where Epcot's going. There hasn't been any real announcements about anything, and then this pops up. So were you just like, oh, it's a new attraction, and it was that, or were you thinking bigger at that time?
I was thinking that this was bigger than just a new attraction, because I think it was going to be a major overhaul. I mean, they were saying Ellen's Energy Adventure building, the Universe of Energy, which in the past housed a 45-minute long attraction. Like, this is not a small building. Was going to be the pre-show for the main attraction, which they were going to build a new building for. So I kind of was like, okay, they are like putting money into Epcot. This is a big thing. They're doing what they can with the Marvel properties, and they're choosing Epcot to put it in there. They kind of know that it needs some attention, but I kind of saw it as like, okay, they're going to put one big new thing there, kind of like, they put Pandora in or whatever, like that. We put one big thing to draw people to the park that needs a draw, right? And that's kind of how I saw it. I didn't necessarily think this was the first of an overhaul to come.
Sure. So you're gonna basically go. I'm stepping on your toes here, Phil. I'm sorry. You're about to talk about the latest announcement 2 years later. My job for your story is to try to bridge the connections between Project Gemini and some of the things, because we don't need you to just kind of read off what we all know about what the stuff that you're talking about. So I'm going to try to provide some context for you.
Sure. So as just mentioned, 2 years later, so at the D23 convention in 2019, there was a big announcement about a transformation to Epcot, and it was given by the chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, Bob Chapek, presented about the future of Epcot. And we kind of heard some rumblings about this coming, so I know a lot of people are really excited about what is this going to be, what is it going to mean, and I kind of think about a lot of the words from Walt, saying that that's what Epcot is. This is actually even at the end of Epcot Forever, this quote from Walt that says, "It's an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming." And I think that kind of ties into the goal of what Bob Chapek was saying, was that they wanted to make Epcot more Disney, more family, more timeless, and more relevant to the millions of guests who visit every year. And I think that kind of ties into a lot of what we've talked about so far, was there were a lot of people, obviously Epcot has its fans, but there were a lot of people like, oh, it's not for kids, or I don't get it. Like, what's the point? It's outdated, that sort of thing. So it wasn't really relevant to a lot of guests. And so they knew they needed to overhaul to make it more relevant. And what they discussed was that overhaul of of Epcot. And what we talked about with Project Gemini was that they were going to change the name of Future World to be Discovery Land. Well, they're not quite doing that, but they are going to be changing the name. There will be no more Future World as part of this project. Instead, they'll actually be splitting Future World into 3 different areas. And to tie into the World Showcase, they will all have World in their name. So to go along with World Showcase, we have World Celebration in the middle of what was Future World, World Nature, and then World Discovery. And
now,
maybe if we'll...
Let me pause you before we go over the details. Yep. Just from looking at the concept art and what we know is going to be put in there, it's immediately everything is green. Project Gemini had the hedge maze, it had the rainforest coaster, and that's all in the World Nature section, right? So we're still kind of taking all of those themes, and we're going to go over some of those things individually. And then World Celebration, it's basically actually, let's do it this way, and I apologize. Why don't you go through the first couple sections, and then
so
we'll talk about it.
So what's the west part of now Future World is going to be World Nature, and this does tie back into Project Gemini, where the one side was going to be much more sort of about the natural world, and the other side was going to be more about the world of technology. But we're officially calling it World Nature, and that is going to have the Land and Seas Pavilion, pavilions that are currently there. There's a new attraction called the Journey of Water, which is going to be Moana themed, and then they were going to introduce a new film at the Land Pavilion called Awesome Planet. So that was going to be sort of the updates to World Nature. On the other side, on the east side, is going to be World Discovery, again using the Discovery name, like Jason said, things at Imagineering never go to die. But this was going to be what was more of the world of technology in Project Gemini. It's going to have Mission Space and Test Track, of course, the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride, a new restaurant which would be attached to Mission Space called Space 220.
I can't wait.
And then also the what was the Wonders of Life Pavilion will be turned into the Play Pavilion. Now, so in the center, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, let's kind of take a step back. So World Nature, like we said, a lot of that stuff we got Nemo and Friends out of it, so that's staying. We got Soarin' out of the whole thing, so that's staying. So basically, the only thing that they're adding was the Moana, which what is it called? The Journey of Water, and that's basically transforming the whole area that was going to get is ripped down now, and just kind of make it more nature, right? So water and trees and gardens. And a couple of the the pictures, just people walking around in a kind of a green space, and it's not a concrete jungle. So that was really nice. Discovery area, again, you've got the Cosmic Rewind edition, so that was kind of already taken up. Mission Space and Test Track both kind of fit into that whole thing. It's technology. They just made the announcement, I think, where there's going to be new electric cars on Test Track. I mean, they're showcasing a new electric car, not part of the attraction, but so You've got sponsors that are kind of plussing it up and adding some of the new technologies, just like they were always supposed to, right? And that kind of relatively stays the same, other than maybe Space 220, which is a cool new restaurant, and the Play Pavilion, which we still don't know what that actually means. So the biggest thing, and you're just about to go into it, is that with a lot of changes is World Celebration.
Yes.
So
World Celebration, which is sometimes also referred to as the Spine project, which is the center part of what was Future World, and includes Spaceship Earth. And it was going to have a new fountain out front, which is already obviously open. They finished up the new entranceway to Epcot, which actually sort of brings it back more to what the original entrance to Epcot was. They're taking out those legacy stones and kind of redoing the whole front there. They're going to clear out some spots in the middle. They're going to have a new statue called Dreamer's Point, which was going to have a statue of Walt, which is nice to get Walt into Epcot. He finally got into Epcot. And then probably the biggest addition to this area was going to be the Festival Pavilion, which was going to be a 3-story, very sort of retro modern looking, sleek building. The key part was going to be a green space on the top of it, which would provide views of the new or any fireworks shows that were going on over the lagoon. Obviously with the intention of, making money off that by selling, passes to that or for corporate events, that sort of thing. But I think that, really would have changed the view, added to it. And the idea of kind of having a space dedicated to view the fireworks and for festival events that was really built for that, I think would have added quite a bit. Fortunately, we know that has since been canceled or at least postponed because
postponed,
COVID and stuff like that. Yeah. I think they'll be probably redoing a lot of what ultimately gets done in the center once they have some more money and can justify it. But yeah, so that was sort of the big changes was this World Celebration. So 3 names instead of just calling the whole thing Discovery Land. Will be interesting to see if everyone what everyone calls things going forward. Like, are people going to say like, "Oh yeah, I'm going over to World Discovery," or I mean, they'll probably just still say I'm going over by Test Track or whatever. But um, it's nice. This is the new vision. This isn't just add like you asked me before, Jason. This isn't just adding a ride. This is a new vision for the future of Epcot.
And I think once it's all done, I mean, we have a bunch of our notes, and I kind of interjected the rest of the notes into Discovery rather than kind of rattling off some of the additions here. The one thing I don't recall is Imagination. Is that technically part of Celebration?
Technically, that's
Kind
part
of,
of
right?
World Celebration. It kind of bends around the end of World Nature, but it will be denoted as part of World Celebration. Yes.
So I think personally, just to have some commentary here, the what you call it, the pavilion, the festival pavilion. I think once the world kind of gets back to normal a bit more, and corporations are spending millions upon millions of dollars to having their showcases to be like, Disney wants those dollars, so they're gonna find a way to build that building back, and that's not relatively expensive. It's just clearing out a space and just kind of building a building there, and I think I think they could easily do that. It's not an attraction; it's just kind of a building, which kind of surprises me since that's kind of the easiest thing to do is just build a building.
Some ways, yeah. But I guess just
Right?
new construction. They're not really doing any big new construction, even if it's a simple
Sure.
building right now.
So I think a lot of these additions, once they're all done, if they do them the right way, they don't skimp out, and this really a lot of it is all just topiary type of stuff, right? Greenery and just kind of redoing the cement. I think it'll look pretty good because man, that's just a wide open space, and then as you were walking through the spine in Future World, it's just old buildings. Like my mother hadn't been to Epcot or if ever in our last trip down there, and she's just kind of looking around. It was just like, this building smells. What are we doing? And like all that stuff. So I can't wait till it's all done. And then the one thing you didn't bring up was, and we talked about this as a rumor last week about the shutting down of Spaceship Earth. That was supposedly supposed to happen.
Yes. Yeah, so they did announce as part of this was an update to Spaceship Earth, which was going to be, we were hearing rumors of 2 years more that was going to change it. It was going to kind of keep the original vibe of around communication, but was going to shift it more to the idea of storytellers.
Yeah.
And kind of going through the different culture, what storytellers mean in different cultures and things like that. So it would have been, I think if they, I don't know what to think. We didn't see a lot of it to know the details of it. It clearly needs some TLC, and putting money into one of like the icons of Walt Disney World makes sense. I don't think they would have, messed it up. I think they would have tried to do it right.
Yeah.
But now we know, or at least the rumors are that they will be getting some sort of update, whether it's to this radical shift to more storytelling, or if it's just sort of a little TLC. We're not sure yet. And so I think if we think about and we look at this map and this diagram of what actually is going to be happening, or at least was announced to happen, how does this tie into what was in Project Gemini? So, we know part of that was making it more relevant to a broader cross section of people by adding in more thrill attractions. We know Cosmic Rewind is very definitely going to be thrilling. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but it's definitely going to appeal to the older demographic, or teenagers and stuff like that. It's still a definite coaster. More Disney. It says there's going to be Nemo, Moana, Remy Ratatouille is another ride that's going to be added. We'll mention World Showcase in a little bit. Obviously, the greenery that Jason's talked about. I mean, the idea of breaking up all that concrete and neon and stuff like that, putting in a lot more plants and trees, and just making it a more pleasant place to be versus a concrete jungle. And then the names, obviously, Future World is gone. While it didn't become Discovery Land, it one of the neighborhoods is even called World Discovery and that sort of thing. So even if you look at the concept art, that was unveiled at D23, you're like, that looks pretty similar to like some of the concept art from Project Gemini. So maybe it wasn't let's start from Project Gemini, but definitely they had some inspiration from what was trying to be accomplished with Project Gemini.
We talked about this in part one, where it's, Westcott led to Project Gemini, which led to the neighborhoods of the new Epcot.
Yeah.
I think there's like a clear line that you can just draw from each project to the next.
And maybe I'll just quickly mention there are some updates coming to World Showcase. We know, from early days they were planning on adding, a coaster ride to Japan and adding in Switzerland and stuff like that. Well, we're not getting that. They are getting an expansion to the France Pavilion with Remy's Ratatouille coming. They're adding a Beauty and the Beast, which has already been adding Beauty and the Beast sing-along to the theater in France. They're updating the Circle Vision movies for Canada and China. And while it was announced, probably not going to happen, they were going to have a Mary Poppins addition to the UK Pavilion with Cherry Tree Lane edition. We don't know exactly what was going to be in there. Last we've heard is this is not going to happen. Again, it might be another one of those projects that goes on the shelves and then 10 years from now is brought back to life. We shall see.
I was surprised that they were actually going to do it in the first place.
I think a lot of people were. That one kind of surprised everyone's like, really? Like, okay, like cool.
I mean, Mary Poppins is classic, right? I mean, let's no one's ever going to forget about Mary Poppins. But the second movie was not very good and was I don't want to call it a disaster in the theaters, but I don't think it met anybody's expectations.
We enjoyed it. I don't think it's not the classic, of course, the first one was by any stretch. And they do kind of have that issue now of like, okay, we're doing something Mary Poppins, even like we talked in one of our earlier in the show about Citricos, it's Mary Poppins Returned themed. Like, really? Like, are people going to know it's that, not just Mary Poppins in general?
People are going to forget about the second movie. They're all going to remember the first.
Or they'll just like merge things together, and some things that happened in the second movie they'll think happened in the first movie or whatever. Exactly. They kind of take the best parts of both movies and merge them together. So just a couple of questions to maybe wrap up with. So just thinking about how do we feel this fits into the original vision of Epcot Center as created by the Imagineers?
So are we talking about the vision of like the 1980s Epcot where you have sponsors and everything else? Or are we talking about like Walt's original?
So not Walt's version for an actual city and that sort of thing, but when you think what the Imagineers took with that idea and built the actual Epcot that got built, do we think this new vision of Epcot pays respect to that, builds off that? What do you think the Imagineers who built the original Epcot would think of this new version of Epcot?
I think they would love it, only because it's, Epcot's all about community and experimental, and that can mean a lot of different things. I mean, when Epcot was originally thought up of by Walt, it was about the future and technology. But today, with climate change and all the things going on in society, the world or the prototype that we love is people living in harmony and not only with each other, but like with the earth, right? And green spaces and the ease and luxury of, having a job or doing whatever you do and then having plentiful food to eat where, everybody is equal and kind of enjoys nature, right? I think I know I talked about this on Discord, but like Tomorrowland, if I had to redo Tomorrowland, we call it Discoveryland in the Magic Kingdom, it'd be a bunch of greenery because that's how people don't want concrete jungles in the cities and stuff anymore. So we as a society has changed that way. So going back to the Imagineers, would they be happy about this? Yes, because the Imagineers are, people that are thinking about these things. But, Disney's huge on conservation and, saving the environment and being energy efficient and, and whatnot. And I think that's all part of the dream, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, if they were just shown this, they'd be like, wow, that's a big change from kind of the original idea of sponsors and things like that. But what I do think this fits into even better than the original plan is the idea of a permanent World's Fair. This feels a little bit more, I don't know if permanent's the right word, but like continuous, like it can continue to evolve.
Especially
whereas I think I think with the way original Epcot was it could have kind of, maybe you could have new sponsors and stuff like that, but I don't know if that could have lasted for 50 years, 100 years. No. This feels like it can, obviously continue to have changes and stuff like that, but it feels like something that is much more long lasting and has that more permanent feel to it.
I'm down with that.
And where do we think they go from here with Epcot? Speaking of that, what do you think the future is? Obviously some things got canceled. Will they come back? What will be the next thing they do to Epcot? Where do we think Disney will go from? Obviously they're going to finish up what they're doing now, but let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, they have some more money, people are traveling again. It's kind of more back to normal. They're like, okay, let's go back to Epcot and kind of finish what we started. What are we going to do?
I think they're construction wise, you're going to have the replacement of the things that are getting old. So maybe there's a Soarin' replacement in 10 years. Maybe there's a Nemo and Friends replacement. Maybe there's a Hopefully there's a test track replacement because that ride's already kind of dated. I showed it to my son for the first time on YouTube. He's like, what is all this? It kind of looked kind of foreign to him. That being said, those things get changed and adapted, right? So we're more talking about the feel of Epcot, right? So everything is done. The greenery comes off awesome. It's, people go there and actually enjoy strolling and sitting down and kind of doing that. It's less of a theme park where you kind of do your rides, but you can also kind of enjoy walking around type of thing. And then you're walking around the World Showcase and you're getting your food and your beverages and stuff like that. I think what they're going to do is probably bring more entertainment to Epcot. More like, so the festivals is already about food and booths and, kind of that type of thing. But, I could see, like whatever you want to call them, street performers or stuff like that. Like impromptu things kind of go through, maybe obviously not full blown parades and cavalcades type of stuff, but you might see, I don't know, a juggler act go through or wandering musicians kind of playing impromptu like all those type of things, like pop-up things, and like make it a real like festival celebration kind of mood, like throw impromptu parties and who knows? I mean, you can but I think that's the direction they're going to go. If they're going to feel like people already come for all the festivals. Why not plus that if it's really going to be like a World's Fair kind of continuous type of thing? That's where I think they go, especially with like a new hotel and everything else. Yeah,
I was just going to touch on that. I think that it's going to continue to build into, I kind of like what you're saying about more for people to just spend time in. And I think part of that can even be added to, whether it's by building that festival center, where it's just like learning about what's going on for that particular festival, but just kind of spending time there, enjoying the view, enjoying the sights of the fireworks and stuff like that. And for corporations to have events there, right, it becomes more event space. And then there were those plans to build a hotel at the front of Epcot that you would go and kind of be basically near a part of the monorail station. You'd probably be able to see into the park from the hotel rooms and stuff like that. And that just ties into it again. Like, I'm staying there, I can just kind of wander in for a few hours and wander out and that sort of thing. So I think it's it's going to have that feel of like, I want to spend time there. And in some ways that might, tie back to the original vision of Walt, which was a place people would actually live, right? It wasn't just to be for rides. It was for people to have a community there. And it could almost have that feeling, right? I mean, of spending time there, being with people, meeting people from different cultures, learning about technology, but just kind of enjoying yourself and discovering, but also having some, world-class rides when you feel like it as well.
Let me leave you with this and see if I can blow your mind with this idea.
Okay.
You build the hotel, right? Epcot's a huge park, right?
Yep.
So, like, if you want to get from the hotel at the entrance to grab a bite at at the American Experience and get some barbecue or something, you might be walking for about a half hour to get there. What if they just install a people mover that just goes around the whole park, similar to the I think Magic Kingdom used to have a train that goes around it.
Wait, what's this? What?
What? But like some kind of moving vehicle, maybe not the exact people mover, but something with the technology that kind of brings you all around, so you can go straight from the hotel to, if America is at 12 o'clock, you stop at 3, and then you stop at the Mexican Pavilion or Norway or something else like that, and you can hop off, and that's how you kind of get around. It's got its own like little type of thing. I think that would be awesome. I don't think you could tie the monorails to it, but I think you can maybe tie, because the original Epcot, you had the monorails and roads that kind of got brought in, and then you had this smaller step down kind of transportation. I don't know if Disney would ever want to do that, but I think that would be cool.
Well, I think that would be cool. And the one thing that additional advantage that would have is there'd be a way, whether it's in the park or out of it, to get from the monorail station to the International Gateway, which is where the Skyliner is. So this way you'd have a way from getting to the monorail to the Skyliner, maybe without having to go through the park. So if that was one of the stops on it, I think that could be kind of cool.
I think it would probably have to be internal to the park if you're going to be hopping off, just because unless you have like a
I guess it depends how many stops there are. Yeah, where there's just a gate to get in.
Anyway, we're not building this thing, so why don't we get into these details? I think that would be a rad idea if we want to, like 10 years down the road, like Epcot, you start to, because of all these changes and maybe some of the plus stuff that they kind of eventually add, hopefully to like the whole festival atmosphere. If a park attendance spikes 10 to 20%, which would mean going from anywhere between 10 to 11.5 million people a year, and it bumps up to 12 to 14 million people a year, or even 13, which is never seen before.
And it can handle it. It's big park.
Easily.
Yeah.
But Disney may be like, oh, we got that many more people here because of that, where, Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom Animal Kingdom saw a pretty good spike with guests because of Pandora. But yet to be seen if Star Wars Galaxy's Edge brings the people to that park. Obviously, COVID had a lot to do with that, but I think Disney's going to dump money into whatever people go to, right? They follow the crowds, and your money talks. Obviously, that's why you're staying at a deluxe resort. You get to go to Epcot a lot later than all the other peasants that are trying to go to the parks. That being said, I think this was a great DBC expedition. We had a list of things that we wanted to do, and this is the one I was like, I'm not too sure about this one, but I had a lot of fun digging into the history of that and learning a little bit more. And I hope you guys too learn a little bit about the parks. That's kind of what we want to do. We want to kind of interject a little bit of trivia, and hopefully you'll learn something. And if you have an idea of what our next DBC expedition wants you to, please hit us up on social media. And if you find one that's interesting, we've got a couple small ones I think that we're going to do. We potentially have a guest coming on that's going to be a DBC expedition on his own. Hopefully that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We shall see. And then for the DBC Recommends this week, I did not forget it this week.
I was wondering if you would or not, so good job.
Thank you. I was on another podcast, mydvcpoints.com. I talked about one of my first DVC stays. They do an excellent job talking about the DVC market and some of the resale points and kind of like tutorials about what the DVC is like. And it's totally not, I don't want to say sleazy, but it's totally not like, they're trying to sell you something every single time. Right. It's very informative. Every Sunday night when we record, they also record a live community hall show where people call in and they hop on. And they have a bunch of different topics. And Chad Pennycuff is the host over there. He's excellent at what he does. He has a super professional setup and everything that he does is super high quality.
Maybe someday when we grow up, we could.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say someday when I'm much smarter and know what I'm doing, we get there. So head over to mydvcpoints.com. They have all their weekly shows. They have multiple of them. And you can find all their stuff or wherever you find your podcast ordinarily. So check them out and give a listen to my show. I mean, I think I recorded a couple months ago. They're so popular. They have a lot of people coming on. And they do some of their weekly shows. It's just basically trip reports. So if you really enjoy listening to people talk about their trips and talk about the things that they've learned and lessons learned, that type of thing, it's an excellent source for that. That being said, Phil, we're 10 minutes over our expected time as usual. So we appreciate you watching and listening. Make sure you rate us 5 stars on iTunes and like and subscribe on YouTube. And with that, we'll see you in a couple days and I'm stoked for this, Loki. I think it's going to be awesome.
Second to last episode already.
That's it. I'm ready. All right, boys and girls. Have a good night. We'll catch you later.
Take care, everyone.